Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to October. For those of you who are new friends of mine, I'm Jacob Nordby. You might be watching this because you are subscribed to my website, jacobnordby.com. You might be here because you've subscribed or downloaded a creative self-journal program at Heal Plus Create or the Institute for Creative Living, or you might be a member. I'm doing this update for a bunch of people, and you might be here watching this because you have signed up for the Heal Plus Create Writers Retreat in October with Anne Lamott, Julia Cameron, Sark, me, Lawrence Apollo, Linda Jones, Dr. Eric Maisel, Sam Lamott. It's really an exciting event we're doing, and no matter how you came today, thank you for being here. I wanted to share a couple of things before I show you some new things to find on our site that we are really excited to have up and running. But before I do that, I wanted to share with you, this is something that a former client of mine, it's called the Mystical Shaman Oracle Deck. Former client of mine who's become a dear friend and a resource, somebody I send people to talk to when I need help. Named Lisa Campion. Lisa Campion is now the author. She was a client back in the day to work on her first book. Now she's writing, I think, her fourth book. And her first two, The Art of Psychic Reiki, and her second one was called Energy Healing for Empaths. Energy Healing for Empaths is something I've sent to a lot of my friends, some of my family members, my daughter. And I recommend it to anyone who's a highly sensitive person who maybe doesn't even know what an empath is, but they just feel often overwhelmed or overly affected by other people's energy. That's a book that I recommend and buy and share as a gift frequently. But she is the one who sent this Mystical Shaman Oracle deck to me as a gift when we finished our client engagement the first time. And, you know, it's funny, that title is one that, despite the fact that I am a mystic and I have been a shamanic practitioner for a long time, for whatever reason, is probably not one I would pick up in the store and purchase for myself. But she sent it, and it has just these beautiful, beautiful cards. And I started using it a few years ago, and it's now something I use almost every day, and I really enjoy it. Now, you might go Oracle decks or Tarot cards or, you know, various kinds of decks. Oh my God, it's just more of that new age mumbo jumbo. But here's the interesting thing about these sorts of games or practices, whatever you want to call them, you know, whether it's the I Ching or Tarot or, you know, any number of different practices people use as methods of divination. If you were a student of Carl Jung's, you might understand that what we are doing when we open ourselves up to these kinds of things is whether you want to use a very mystical interpretation of it or not, the fact is we do open ourselves up to a field of synchronicity. And so I have fun with this, and I am going to, the reason I'm telling you about it right now, is I'm going to pull a card and offer it to you as something to consider during the month of October. Okay, so what I have pulled, let me just keep going just for a moment here. That one didn't feel quite right. Sometimes I get ahead of myself and am not exactly sure what's going to come up. And I also try not to shop the cards and go, okay, so I'm asking for guidance. And that's part of it right now, is I have not set a clear intention on what I'm asking for. So let me go ahead and put that out there here right now. And then we'll just take the next one that feels right, and I'll read you the interpretation of it. And I would invite you to use this as a journal prompt or just a personal reflection, or just think about how does or might this apply. So if I were doing this by myself and not on camera, trying to be coherent in front of you, I would sit here and I would talk to the deck. I would say, creature of paint and paper. And by the way, this is part of my magical practice. Creature of paint and paper, thank you for your service. And then I would ask for guidance. And so what's the message here for my friends for October? All right, so this one is the owl. The owl, isn't that a pretty, aren't these paintings beautiful? So I'll just look that up in the book that accompanies this deck and read the interpretation and in the invitation to you. And whether you take these very seriously, or maybe you just feel like it opens you up to reflection, or you take it, very playfully. I think all of the above, all of those are valid options when you're working with divination tools. This is called the owl, and the owl is the master of the night. So if you think about your life, what situations you're in right now, what situations you would love to have more sense of guidance for, sense of direction, that sort of thing. Let's just see what it has to say. Owl is the master of the night. She can see situations with perfect clarity, more so when it is dark, and is able to discern truth when others are sightless. She helps you find your light and your lightness in the darkest moments of your life, and to embrace the night as your ally. Owl can bring you messages from the invisible world. She opens your ears so that you may hear the voices of the ancestors, and you may acquire that wisdom and make it your own. The invitation here is look around you, notice every detail, find the hidden messages brought to you by Owl. Do not shoot the messenger. Be grateful to the friend who shows you what you have not wanted to see until now. Observe all the facets of the diamond without judgment. Remember that the facets you dislike are often mirrors of the part of you that you do not want to recognize. Do not be afraid of the truth, as it will become your compass. So I may put a link to find this oracle deck in the description here below this video, in case you want to have one like it. Or if you go, I don't want to have anything to do with those sorts of things, and that's perfectly fine too. I also wanted to share a bit about October with you from my friends at the Power Path, Jose and Lena Stevens. They have the Power Path, and I know these folks well. They live in Santa Fe, and they run a school of shamanic teaching. And I love their monthly update. I'm just going to read you just the very first part. The main theme for October is tumultuous transitions. October is a potentially stressful month where patience, acceptance, flexibility are needed to navigate it well. We are being pushed up against the wall of our own internal process of change, and there is nowhere else to hide from what needs to be released, healed, and transformed. As you sit with that just for a moment, what in your life feels like it wants to be released, healed, and or transformed? There will be cranky times where you feel pulled to go back inside, be alone and in your process. And there will be times where you will feel a push to get out into the world and jumpstart your next chapter. The energy is up and down, tricky and erratic, with the potential for disruption. However, there will also be times of magic, beauty, cooperation, and support. Breakthroughs are not only possible, but highly probable, as there is no escape from the healing that needs to take place before we can move on. The proactive part of this month is about showing up, telling the truth, and then having the courage to ask for support in pushing through to the next chapter instead of being pulled back into old patterns. The body and emotions are uncomfortable in this new landscape, and the mind is resistant to change. Have patience with yourself and others, and practice acceptance in the face of unusual and unexpected situations. Now, I don't think that somebody needs to be a full-on psychic medium to say that probably most of us are facing some kind of transition in our life right now, whether it's as the collective in our culture, all the transitions that are going on that are stretching us, that are frightening. How will these things turn out? How will these things affect me and my family? How will they affect my job, my future, the economy, the politics, all of the things that are going on right now? And one of the things that I work very hard to do in my life is sustain and continue a very steady practice of returning to my center, returning to, as you have heard me talk about many times, returning to the green zone. And this is so important because it's not something that we can leave to chance. Returning to that state that lives within all of us, and you do not have to subscribe to any kind of thought system, belief system, religion, mystical tradition, anything else. Although each of these is essentially talking about the practices that brings us down into our calm, returns the locus of control from where it wants to be off and outside of us. This is happening to me, and it wants to return it back into where it belongs, which is this is inside my feeling, sensing nature inside my body. This is where I'm connected to the source, which is the greater wisdom and intelligence of this universe of which we are a part. It wants to return us back into a state of feeling as if we have enough light for the next step on the path, right? So it's not waiting until we see the whole path 5 years down the road. It's saying, I have enough light for this next step. And I want to encourage you, if feeling guided, if feeling that level of a sense of I'm able to move with my intuition, if that's not natural for you, if that's not something you experience all of the time, I want to say that that is very definitely a part of your inner creative self. That's part of the wiring you were born with. Everybody has it. We all have access. Some have a little more heightened intuition, a little more heightened, access to their right brain, but all of us have these things. So nobody is left out. I want to invite you to begin to practice it, to begin to invite more of it into your existence, into your experience. And part of that will emerge as you give yourself experiences, incremental practices, incremental things. And I'm going to invite you to join us for a bunch of different experiences this coming month. I'm really excited about them. And as we transition the Institute for Creative Living members over into the Heal Plus Create platform, which will be happening in the next 30 days, we've been opening up these member-only type workshops and online experiences and saying, hey, we want to have everybody join us. Anybody who wants to can RSVP and join us. And so what I'm going to do is show you on my screen a couple of these things that are coming up that I'm so excited about and that I hope you'll join us for. Now, you're going to first see the Zoom screen, which is not what we're talking about. Let's see. Here it is. Okay, so this is the calendar events on the Heal Plus Create site. And I want you to be aware of these things because we have them. Some of these are just for the writing community. This is our very specific writing community. So I won't review those right now, but I wanted you to be aware of the therapeutic doodling for fun and healing with Karen Channing. That's coming up on the 13th of October. We also have Journaling the Possible with Linda Monk, and she's a therapist. She's also the head of the International Association of Journal Writers. And I had her do this session at the Heal Plus Create virtual retreat early in 2022. It is fantastic. She leads us through some guided visualizations. She leads us through journaling practices to help us begin to see beyond the current circumstances of our life and say, what would I love to create? She's gentle, she's wise, and she's really good at this. Karen Channing is also a licensed therapist and an active therapist. And so she brings her perspective as a therapist, also as a neuroscience geek, to this practice of doodling. So if you haven't done this with us yet, it is fun, it is revealing, and everybody who comes to it wants to come back. And we also have Tao Yin Yoga Qigong with Paul David Shea coming up on the 18th. These experiences are so cool. This Paul David Shea, he has been doing this for 25, 30 years, somatic experiencing, body work, practice, breathing. This experience with him, if you've never done it before, is a lot like Kung Fu Yoga, Kung Fu Panda, the movie. In that he leads us through a process very gently, very slow movements, and just breathing, nothing extreme, where you begin to feel that inner energy, that life force that we all have. And many of us get disconnected from it or disconnected from our awareness of it. So I want to invite you to join us for that. And then a couple of these things are, again, just for the writing community. But here's one that I also want you to be aware of. On Sunday, the 23rd, Scott, my dear friend, Scott Stabile, Breathe Your Way Home. It's a breath work session. And this is something that you'll be guided right in your home. He'll tell you how to, lay out a comfortable pad or blanket and pillows, and then we'll just all breathe together, but it's guided. And I've been through these before. And as someone who has been through quite a few plant medicine journeys, shamanic expeditions. In fact, I just came back from one a couple of weeks ago that was very powerful, guided shamanic expedition using plant medicines. This one here, using only your breath, okay? Nothing outside of you except for your breath. this is as powerful a medicine journey, or it can be for many people, as some of those other type of experiences can be. Now, Scott will be very gentle. This is an introductory breathwork session, so you don't have to worry that you'll, lose your mind or anything like that. But the opportunity for healing, for going deep, for experiencing release, experiencing a deep calm and a relief from anxiety. These things happen during breath work. So I want to invite you to join us for any or all of those. And then, of course, we have the Writers Retreat. I mentioned this earlier. I'll make sure there are links to this. This is filling up. We're almost full on the in-person seats. I think we have about 50 seats left. And Anne Lamott is getting ready to announce that again next week. And so that's going to fill up. We have, I think, close to 700 people who are going to be joining us live online from around the world. And everyone who comes to this writers retreat, whether it's live broadcast or in person, you will get full video replays for the entire year. So I'm very, very excited about this. I have been working like my hair's on fire for the last several months putting this together. And the way it's coming together is just so exciting, so beautiful. All right. And before I quit sharing my screen, I wanted to show you that we have been developing a lot of new articles on our site. And my sister Kitty is she's a ninja in many ways. And she's also been developing and reaching out to some of our different faculty at large and some other creatives and bringing in a bunch of new articles. So we have them by Lisa Campion. I just mentioned her a minute ago. We have them by me. We have them from my friend Jim McGinley, who was an ex-Marine. Of course, Marines say you're never an ex-Marine, but he was a commanding officer. And then after he got out of the Marines, he got sober. He went back to school, got his doctorate. And he's now a psychologist and a counselor and an amazing character. And he has a bunch of articles on here. Julia Cameron. There are just so many articles now in a couple of months that we've been able to add. Lauren Sapala does a lot of articles for writers and creatives. And then my friend April Crowell, who is a Asian medical practitioner, we have gotten permission to republish some of her articles. So I just wanted you to be aware that there is a lot of content now on our site, and you can go through this and just really, kind of fall down a rabbit hole if you want, because there's a lot of great information. All right, so let me stop sharing the screen. And I just want to say that wherever you come from, I was talking with my dear friend Paul Boynton, who's the founder of Begin With Yes, and we're working on a whole new program for him that'll be coming out soon. But, he was at a concert recently, and I think it was a Lady Gaga concert. And he said, Jacob, one of the most powerful moments of that concert, aside from all of the talent and the music on display, he said, Lady Gaga turned from the piano and said to the crowd, I don't know you personally, most of you, but I feel like I know you. I feel as if I know you. And here's what I mean. I feel as if you came here attracted to the energy of what we do. And I know that you are a remarkable human being. You've lived through challenges. You've overcome things. You've experienced traumas, and you've lived through them. You've healed. You've grown, and you have the spark of life in you. You have dreams. You have desires that you wish to bring into this world in your life experience. Lady Gaga didn't say all of those things, but those are some words I'm adding to it. But the point is, I want to extend the same thing to you. You've been a subscriber. You've connected in some way. And I just want to say that even though we might not know each other personally, I know quite a few of you personally, either through social media or in person, but if we don't know each other personally, I just want to say thank you for being here. And when I say that in my newsletters and on these updates, that's what I mean. Thank you for being here. Every person who is here, who's alive, who is committed to growing and healing and committed to reaching forward and creating more of what's true, more of who they really are in this world. You're part of the medicine. You're part of what this world really needs. I know it's easy to look around at this overwhelming time on this planet, and I feel that we really are at an apex. We're at an inflection point. I feel like if we live long enough to look back at this time, 20, 30, 50 years in the future and look back, I think we're going to really look back and say that was a pivotal time in the history of the human species on this planet. I feel like we'll look back and say some big things changed, but in the middle of the course of events changing, in the middle of things pivoting, that can feel very anxious. It can feel terrifying. It can feel destabilizing. It can feel like I don't know what's next or which way is up. I just want to say that if you will join me in some of these simple practices, whether it's the creative self-journaling program or daily, just a few minutes of meditation, bring yourself down into that green zone, or any of these experiences we offer through Heal Plus Create and the Institute for Creative Living, if you'll join us for these, I believe that you begin to feel just a little bit more at a time that you are in touch with your inner creative self, that you have the resources and the inner strength to take just that next step forward. And that's what I love to say too, is this isn't about figuring out how to take all the rest of the steps in the marathon we call life. It's about really, what's the next step? What's the very next step that I need to take here? So I just want to thank you for watching this update, for being part of my online worldwide family of people who are committed to healing that connection, restoring that connection to your inner creative self. I want you to know that I see you, I appreciate you, and I know that you're so badly needed, so dearly needed. Let's not say badly, so dearly needed in this world. So keep the faith, connect with us in these practices so that you can not feel so alone. And there's something that's special that happens in these gatherings, whether it's online or in person. When you join your energy, your attention, your focus, and your intent with other people, you find that something happens within you when you know that you're connected to others who are sharing your intention, your focus. Something powerful happens. And if whether that's powerful on a big, like exciting level, or just powerful in a quiet way, that you feel a little bit better, you feel a little bit more able to move forward. I just want to invite you to stay connected with us, take the next steps with us. So because together we are making a difference. Thanks for being here.